Hello everyone, the people over at Dragori Games reached out to me recently and asked me to take a look at their new game coming out that is also going to be a Kickstarter at the end of the month. There are links in the description below if you'd like to check out this Kickstarter after we've taken a look at what they have to offer. And Dragori Games is bringing their World of Tanares to 5e with Tanares RPG for 5th edition. And I've taken some time to look over this game and it looks really amazing so far. There's some things I absolutely love and a lot of really great things as well, and let's take a look at what they have to offer here. Tanares RPG is your go-to setting if you're looking for tense, complex, shifting, fragmented, dystopian, and high fantasy worlds where adventures are rare and the high-level adventurers are even rarer. This allows the players to feel that the spotlight is as much on the party as it is on the players themselves, letting them experience what it means to be in the team of heroes. The keyword team is actually pretty important here, because there are no wars in this world of Tanares. And the fact that there are no wars in this world means that there are only teams, and the teams are consistent of a maximum of 5 members, which may also mean that there are no more than 5 players allowed in any given game, plus a 6th for the DM or GM. Now the interesting thing about this is that the teams that have combined here and are adventuring around the world or doing all those sorts of things have real-world impacts on the game. And what's also interesting about the teams is that not only do you have character sheets, but the team that you form also has a character sheet as well. And the team will have its own banner and other various rewards, even a possibility for headquarters, which everyone loves. One other major thing about the Tanares world is that dragons are a huge key feature of this game. So anywhere you're going to adventure, you're basically looking for dragons. Even a cave off a few hundred miles away is suspected to be a dragon's lair. One interesting thing I read up while looking through this was that long distance travel can actually be used with weakened dimensions, kind of similar to the idea of a wormhole, where you could slip into one dimension where the veil has been weakened, travel through that dimension, and come out somewhere far away in the world of Tanares with just a matter of a few bits of travel in this other realm. But don't forget that the other realm is also extremely dangerous. So, your team and players have tough choices to be made that have widespread consequences. And for those that may not be looking exactly for combat, may also find that the intrigue system is pretty good here for RPing more and battling in the arena less with 3 major factions and possibly more. Now another interesting thing about Tanares RPG is that they are bringing 4 new classes to the game. Not subclasses, actual classes here. And they are the Dragon Blade, designed to hunt dragons, is an intelligence-based fighter tank, and even though the class doesn't have subclasses, there are choices to be made based off of the dragon colors that the Dragon Blade decides to choose from. There's also the Elementalist, that is a wisdom-based caster, and the powers are derived from that which emanates from avatar dragons and their lairs. So the Elementalist seems to get the powers from the dragons directly, while the Dragon Blade is more or less hunting the dragons down. And the Elementalist spells can be blended together with their class points to form spells in different ways. There's also the Madwalker, a dex-based class that taps into the Pnumbral underworld of nightmares and madness, stemming the chaos of time travel and massive shivs in the Tanares universe. And lastly, they also have the Redeemer class, a charisma-based healer and damage dealer in one. It appears they tap into the greed, desires, hopes, and dreams of energetically charged items as simple as coins to as complex as weapons and beyond. After that, Tanares is also bringing 2 unique subclasses for existing classes, being the Lost Magic Researcher for wizards, and the Courage Domain for clerics. On top of that, there will also be custom spells for both of these unique subclasses to be added into any game you choose to use Tanares in, or using Tanares as its own campaign world as well. On top of this, there are 16 scenarios that come baked into the game already, and the GM has to make a decision right out the bat of which aspect dragons are alive. Deciding which dragons are alive or dead will have a huge impact on the game, and even dragon death during the campaign will extremely change the way the game plays out. The main plot or setting is directly connected to the board game Tanares Adventurers that was also successful Kickstarters by the Dragori Games group. So if you're interested to see more about this, you can actually look back to some of their other successful campaigns and see where their games have coming from and where the Tanares RPG for 5e is coming from. As I mentioned before, the arena. There are no wars in this world, and there are no major armies except for the main controlling Imperial faction. Everyone else must form teams of 5 players in order to work out their squabbles. So if it's cities versus cities, they get their teams together and fight in the arena. If it's neighbor versus neighbor, they get a team together and fight in the arena. Everything is done in the arena to work out conflicts in this game. This is an optional addition to any campaign and could be fascinating to use one way or the other. And on top of that, winning the arena gains many benefits but also faction problems, so the players must choose wisely if they decide to enter into the arena. Now, the major thing I absolutely am in love with this game is the companion app that Dragori Games is bringing for the Tanares RPG. Not only can the GM use this or not, but it's going to help the GM in a multitude of ways. I've played a bunch of board games that have companion apps that either take over the role as the DM/GM or help assist the game one way or the other, and I am in love with how they are worked out. So I'm really excited for this companion app for the Tanares game here. And what does it do? Well, it helps players navigate the Imperial City. There's also real-time meteorological data that will let the GM know whether or not there's some kind of storms or weather patterns going on or changes in that sort of fashion. There's also events, plot hooks, and opportunities for your players based on their locations in the world of Tanares as well. So if your players are in the Imperial City, they may have certain hooks or things go on there, as opposed to being somewhere else in the countryside. On top of that, the maps will change based on the players' choices and their successes and failures. So if the players end up killing an avatar dragon, then the app is going to update with that, and there's going to be some major shifts as well. Plus, Dragori is also looking for support in Roll20 and other VTTs as well, so that's something to look forward to in the future. Now, this wouldn't be an exposing D&D monsters video if I didn't take a look at some of the custom monsters that Dragori is offering in the Tanares RPG. And considering that their game is based primarily on dragons and everything about dragons, the Dragori team came up with the Pnumbral dragons. And as you can see here, off to the right, we have an adult Pnumbral dragon. Now this is a psychic dragon, and it is very closely based off of the adult dragons in D&D 5e already. And this being one of my videos, let's take a look at what the adult Pnumbral dragon looks like when we break it down. Now, the adult Pnumbral dragon has 19 AC, is a huge dragon with 19 D12 hit dice, 23 Constitution, 15 Wisdom, and 19 Charisma, and should be a CR 15. With the base items out of the way, let's take a look at the skills section here and see what we have for our adult Pnumbral dragon. Well, right off the bat, we have 4 saves of Dex, Con, Wisdom, and Charisma. This will ultimately give our dragon here +2 effective AC bonus. After that, we only have damage immunities to psychic energy, and since this is only one condition for the immunities, we're going to ignore this for now. Next, we'll jump down into the monster trait section to see that our dragon has legendary resistance 3 uses per day. So we'll add that in, and this will end up giving our dragon an effective +90 hit points. After that, we have nothing left in the monster trait section, so let's jump down into the actions. Now, our dragon has an attack bonus of +12, which we'll add in here. And on top of that, it has a multi-attack of using its Frightful Presence and then 3 attacks, 1 with its bite and 2 with its claws. We're going to add in the bite for our first attack here of 18 damage plus 4.5 psychic damage. Next will be the claws, which will be a straight 14 slashing damage. And then on top of that, we also have a tail attack of 16 bludgeoning damage. Next, we also have the Frightful Presence, but because the dragon is already over CR 10, we're not going to bother adding this in because the effect will not take place. After that, we have a Psychic Breath that recharges on a 5 or a 6, and we're expected 1 use in the first 3 rounds of combat. And after a successful or unsuccessful Wisdom save, the players will be taking roughly 58.5 points of damage times 2. Because we're always expecting 2 failed saves when we look at these numbers here. So the Psychic Breath will end up giving us about 117 damage on average as long as we get 2 failed saves. After that, we then add in the multi-attacks of the 1 bite plus 2 claw attacks, for an average of 50.5 damage coming from the multi-attack. After that, we do have some legendary actions, first one being Detect, which does nothing for our dragon. A tail attack, which simply just uses the tail damage of 16, but we can use it 3 times per combat round, and that will end up giving us 48 average damage. After that, we have the wing attack, which costs 2 actions, and then we can do a tail attack after that. So the wing attack will end up doing 14 damage on average to one player, but since it's an AoE attack, we'll multiply that times 2, giving us 28 points of damage, and then also adding in one more tail attack of 16 points, giving us an average of roughly 44 points of damage for that turn in combat. After that, our adult Pnumbral dragon doesn't have a lair, so we don't have to worry about lair actions, and we can simply go into figuring out what is our dragon going to do on each round of combat. Well, first off, our dragon's going to use the Psychic Breath, provided that it lines up with everything. And then, after that, we can do 3 tail attacks. Rounds 2 and 3 will simply be the multi-attack, plus the second legendary action of 3 tail attacks. And when we copy that into round 3, we'll see that our dragon has, on average, a full attack of 120 points of damage with everything it can do between the Psychic Breath, the multi-attacks, and the legendary actions. When we come over to the table here, we're seeing that the adult Pnumbral dragon may actually be a CR 20. And when we look at the charts here on the left, we're seeing that our dragon has a DCR of 19, which is a little on the low side, an OCR of 20, and when these two are averaged out, we get 19.5, and rounding up, we end up with a CR 20 adult dragon. And seems to be an underrated dragon. So this is up to you when you get this game, if you use it at the CR 15 that they suggest in the book, or potentially a CR 20 that we found here. And this has been a look at the Tanares RPG for 5e by the people at Dragori Games. If your interest has been piqued, then take a look at the links below in the description to find out more about their game coming out on Kickstarter and their landing page where you can get yourself some samples as well and join the mailing list to be alerted when the Kickstarter goes live.